with a lot of seriousness. So we wanted to go like to the other side. Let's do something. I don't know if somebody is going to like it, but let's do something really serious and mysterious and with this magical around.
With a restless creative spirit, his latest release, Expectativas, defines the ever-evolving rock icon as a fascinating melodic songwriter whose distinctive baritone voice is instantly recognizable by his legions of fans worldwide. Let's head into the studio with Enrique Bunbury. Enrique Bunbury, welcome to the Storyophonic studio. So great to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
It's very ironic. Earlier today, I was watching a video of you just a couple months ago playing for almost 200,000 people at the Zocalo in Mexico City.
Well, that was not the kind of things that I normally do, because this was for the earthquake that was in Mexico City, and it was without my band. So they phoned me and they asked me if I can go there, and I say very fast, I said yes, but I didn't realize that I hadn't my band at that moment. So I thought, what can I do in Mexico? So I got a mariachi to do a few songs, traditional music for the people. So it was really amazing. It was very, very emotional.
It was a beautiful performance, and with the mariachi, and you chose to do, the songs that you chose to do were very well known to the audience. I wanted to ask you about, the Jose Alfredo Jimenez cover that you did. We also know by Vicente Fernandez, but El Hijo de Pueblo.
Yeah.
The line kind of translates as very happy with my poverty. I don't have money, but I have a lot of heart.
Yeah, that's an amazing song. I heard that song many years ago, and I always wanted to sing that song because it's a song about being part of the people, being part of the poor people, coming from the poor people and having something in common with them. No, so it's a really interesting lyric, and it says something about being very Mexican. So for me, not being Mexican, it was great to sing those lyrics, and the people. It was like being giving a hug to the country.
Beautiful. Let's talk about your new record, because a lot of people are listening to it. We're hearing a lot about it and doing a tour behind the record. Expectativas, expectations.
Expectations.
Whose expectations? Your expectations?
Well, the title is because of my expectations in music. With my music, I was thinking about what do I want, where do I want to take my music, because I was doing some albums that were more focusing roots music, in the roots of rock and roll music, and also the Latin music roots and the Mediterranean roots. So doing that kind of anthropologist work for a while, I wanted to bring my music to the present, not to the future, because I think that's very difficult right now, but to bring it to the present. That was my expectations with this album.
Great. Did you record analog?
Well, I did something that was recording with a 24-track machine, 24-track tape machine, through it to the computer. So I was getting the warmth of the tape, but at the same time I had the possibility of editing and transforming the sounds that you have in Pro Tools and inside the computer, and it's much faster. So I think the best of two worlds.
As I listen to the record, I also hear there's some analog synth sounds too, which are, I hear some synth sounds are almost like historic synths.
We were recording in this place in Texas that is Sonic Ranch. That is an amazing, it's like paradise for a musician. It was amazing to be there. It's like going to the guitar center and you have all the guitars and you have all the keyboards, all the amplifiers, all the drums, everything that you want, and you just have to pick whatever you need for each piece of the song. So we were trying synthesizers from the 70s, from the 60s, and I was very interested in the 80s synthesizers, the Juno 60 and so the Prophet and some others. So we were mixing the different synthesizers.
It's a great sounding record. It's
thank you very
love
much.
it. And you also produced as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I normally do the production for my records. I've been working with some other producers. My teacher was Phil Manzanera from Roxy Music. He's a great friend and an amazing producer also. And I learned everything from him. But I really need to be in charge of the sound of my albums, because I do the writing, I sing the songs, and to give the responsibility of the sound, the final sound, to other people is like I can do that.
That's interesting. Is it difficult to maintain perspective on the project?
That's the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
If you are in both sides of the glass, if you have to take decisions while you are singing, you have to judge yourself behind the microphone. That's kind of complex. But I think the most important thing, if you are in charge and you have to take that responsibility, you have to do a lot of rehearsal.
Oh, okay.
That's what I do. Rehearse a lot with the musicians.
I was going to ask you about that. So that's part of the process of rehearsing before you record then?
Yeah. In this case, I did a lot of rehearsal. We were like 2 months just finding the right arrangement and thinking about possibilities of different sounds. So much of the work was done before going to the studio. So there in the studio, we were just thinking, we were just being a little picky about the sound. This can be a little different. Why don't we treat this or that? So it was more specific about the sound, because the playing, the arrangement, we knew what to do.
Do you cut vocals at the same time, or you go back in and do vocals?
No, we do overdubs.
Yes.
For the vocals. I normally don't sing with the band at the same time, because that's really difficult for me to be in both places. But the band was playing together.
They played together.
Okay. They
Okay.
were playing together.
Oh, interesting. So there's a give and take. So you've got that rhythmic thing happening with the band that goes on. Great.
Yeah.
Great. And how do you choose your band members, or have they been with you for a while?
Yeah, well, it's a band. It's like, I don't know, like you said, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yes.
It's like my Heartbreakers. They had been playing with me for 10 years. I had a previous band. The first band that I was Héroes del Silencio, was very, very famous in
Yes.
Latin audiences. And then I was with another band that was El Huracán Ambulante. And that I did most of my Latin-influenced album with them, and now with Los Santos Inocentes, that is the last 10 years.
Great. Can they read your mind? Are you intuitive? You got that kind of chemistry happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of talking with them before starting a project, because I move from album to album. But I have like a special connection with my drummer, that is Ramon, that is like my right hand, and I do a lot of talking to him about music, production, sound, what do I want, and he translates to the rest of the band.
Great. You know, that you're sometimes described as a musical chameleon, but it seems the things around you might change, but your sound, your voice is so consistent and recognizable. And it's interesting that you're a baritone. In pop music, especially in the U.S., tends to be higher singers, but you've got that real, like, we think of like Jim Morrison had that kind of a sound, or David Bowie, who I know is a part of an influence of yours, had that kind of a deeper tone,
Yeah, most of my favorite singers are, they have low voices, like Elvis Presley or David Bowie, or I'm thinking about, well, you said Jim Morrison, or who else? Well, Leonard Cohen.
Yeah.
Dave Gahan, most of them. Mark Lanegan,
Yes.
Nick Cave, all those singers. I love them all. But when you have a low voice, sometimes you wish, I will wish if I could do things like, I don't know, Jeff Buckley or people like Tom York or people like those singers that they have this thin, beautiful, or Neil Young, they have beautiful sounding voice.
I love that you referenced Leonard Cohen as a singer. That's great.
Leonard Cohen, I love him. He's not like a real good singer, but well, he has a beautiful voice.
Yes. Very nice. Very nice. That leads us into, I guess, songwriting. And because you have distance between your projects, there's a number of years between them. I would imagine there's a number of years of writing or refining. And as I understand, writing is something that you see that as a discipline. Is that correct?
Yeah. For many years, I was like waiting for the muse or for the inspiration to come. But I don't know when I read an interview with Nick Cave that he was saying that he rented an office and he put his piano there and he went to this office like every day in the morning, like if he was going to a real office, like having a job. And the job was to go there and write something, whatever, if it was good or it was not that good, but he had to go there. And that kind of discipline was like weird to me, but I started to do it and I think it's much better and you get much work done.
Did you have more songs recorded than you included on the project?
Yeah, I wrote like 40 or 50 songs for this project. But the thing is that my last album was released 4 years ago. That was Palo Santo.
Yes.
And between these two albums, I had this unplugged project. So during these 4 years, I was writing, thinking when I was going to record the album. So 4 years is a lot of time. So I had time for writing a lot of material.
The Unplugged record sounds really, really fine. And it's interesting because you're somebody who said that you don't look back, you look forward. But the Unplugged kind of gave you a chance to look back in a sort of way and then kind of reinterpret into the present what you had created from the past.
The Unplugged came in a moment that I really didn't want to take an acoustic guitar and do something like, I don't know, Kumbaya. So it was really weird to me to do that project. So I asked them if I could do an Unplugged by my way, like using other instruments. And we used these synthesizers and guitars, acoustic guitars, but with treatment to them, like using pedals and using different sounds for the acoustic guitars. So it was interesting to use that kind of instruments to review my old material. And I didn't went back to all my back catalog. I just choose songs from the very beginning and from the last 10 years. So I left 10 years in the middle.
It's quite a repertoire of material that you have. I mean, if I look at your entire recorded work, it's a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I've been working.
You have been working.
Yeah.
You have been working. Yeah. There's a wonderful short film which accompanies your latest project, and it's black and white. Mm-hmm. The choice of using a black and white film as opposed to a color film, is that speaking of the starkness of that visual, or?
Well, the thing is that for when you record an album, normally record companies or the management comes and they ask for a making of. Why don't you record a making of the album? And it's something that is so boring and they all do the same thing and it's not really what happens in the studio, or it's not really how we make the albums. It's like so fake that we wanted to do something more poetic, cinematographic, and with another tone. In the making ofs, normally you pick up moments like fun moments, like at the moments of the having dinner or yes, telling jokes. But that's not how anybody does an album. An album is done with concentration, with magic, with a lot of with seriousness. So we wanted to go like to the other side. Let's do something. I don't know if somebody is going to like it, but let's do something really serious and mysterious and with this magical around. So that's what we try to do. And poetic.
It's very atmospheric the way that it
Atmospheric,
begins, with the insects and the dust on the road. There's one little piece that I had to go back and see what it was, because I could see a book, and it was a book by David Lynch, Catching the Big Fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is that a reference to?
Well, it's I don't know if you have read that book. It's very interesting. It's about the relation between TM, transcendental meditation, and the creative process. So I was very much into TM writing these songs. So it was a coincidence that book was there in the studio, but it was not mine. But I have read that book, and it's very interesting because he called Catching the Big Fish the thing that when you do a meditation, you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and when you go deeper, you catch a bigger fish. So that's the analogy of the meditation and the creative process. And I think it was very interesting because what I wanted to say in the film was that this is hard work and it's mysterious and it's interesting, this process of writing and recording an album.
Related to that, there's one shot of a card which says, "Listen to the quiet voice," is what it says. Yeah, this seems to be related to that thought.
Yeah, I don't know if you know these cards that Brian Eno did in the 70s. These are the oblique strategies. I think that's the name. And I look for them because Phil Manzanera told me that he uses the oblique strategies. And I try to find them in eBay, and I found this from the 70s. That is the original cards that Brian Eno did. And well, these are just cards for consultation during when you have a block during the recording. You don't know what to do, and you ask the card, like when you ask the I Ching or the tarot or the other cards. You ask something and you receive an answer. No, and the answer was, listen to the quiet voice.
Wow. We have to hear that quiet voice sometimes.
Yeah, then you have to do your interpretation of the card. What is the quiet voice? And what is your quiet voice saying?
We'll be right back after this.
This is Lindsay Tomasic. I produce this podcast, and I also edit and mix all the interviews that you're hearing. I just want to take a minute to tell you how much the UAD hardware and plugins have enhanced my work as an engineer. I came up in an analog world, and when digital was first introduced, I was really disappointed by the lack of transparency and warmth in it. But since I've become familiar with using these tools, my world has completely transformed. And I'm happy to say that all that warmth and transparency is now back in my production world. I'm even happier to say that Storyophonic is now supported by Universal Audio. Take a minute and go to their website at universalaudio.com and check out all the cool stuff that they have available to enhance your productions.
You've lived many places in the world. You've traveled many places in this world, and you choose to live in Los Angeles. Why is that?
Because it's a great city. I love LA. But when I came here for the first time, it was for different reasons. I was in EMI, in the record company, and EMI was having this big problem that was not paying to the artists in Spain. So I tried to do something with the record company here in LA and a link with the EMI in Mexico. So I had more support from EMI here in America than in Spain. So I came here like for maybe a year or a couple of years. But I came here and I had a daughter, and I'm staying here for different reasons right now. And the different reasons are life. Life is, I love living here. I love the things that I'm discovering here, friends here. And now it's like difficult for me to go out of the city.
It's great to have you here in Los Angeles. I read a funny reference to you as like the hero of the kitchen, which in some ways Los Angeles allows you to be anonymous in certain ways.
Yeah.
Although if we go into a restaurant and we go into the kitchen, everybody in the kitchen knows who you are. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
Well, that's what happens to me. So I'm anonymous most of the time, but in many restaurants and hotels, you go to the kitchen, then they know me.
Yeah. That anonymity must be kind of freeing in a way. Does it give you more freedom to observe?
That's it. I think it's part of the writing that you need to look and to observe and to check what is happening around. But when you are quite famous, the people starts to look at you, and you have more difficulty to look around you. So for me to come here and go to a supermarket or to go to a park with my daughter and to live a normal life, it's an amazing thing to write songs, because I can see around and look around what is happening, what other people do. So I think it gives me material to write.
Of the places you visit in the world, are they all creative for you? Are they creative in different ways?
At the end of the day, a creative work, you can do it wherever you go. You can go to a cabin in the woods and write songs, or you can go to Tokyo and write songs there, because you work with your mind and with your imagination. So you can work wherever. I love to travel a lot, to see other cultures and to see and meet other people.
And do you create visual art as well?
Well, I paint,
Yes.
but I'm not good. I paint because I like it.
Is there a correlation between painting and writing songs?
I started to paint like 2-3 years ago. And I started because I was writing this album, and some of the time I was completely blocked. So I couldn't continue, and it was very frustrating to be in a room, because I had this discipline that I went to the studio and I was going to be there from 8 in the morning till whatever. So it was frustrating, because a whole day without doing anything, it was like, I need to. So I started to paint while I was waiting to have an idea. And when you paint, you have to wait sometimes because something has to dry. So you pick the guitar. And it was funny for me to be doing something creative all the time, and to be in contact with this world of ideas and dreams, and that is the creative process.
One thing I wonder about painters is something that I wonder about people who produce records. How do you know when it's done?
Well, that's really difficult. It's easier for me to know when a record is done than to finish a painting. Because if you are a not very good painter, as I am, then you always want to redo a little piece that is not very well done.
There's this quote I've heard that says sometimes that great art is never finished, it's only abandoned.
Yeah, they took it from you. The record company comes and say, okay, that's it. You spent a lot of money in this is it. And then you say, okay, this is the end. I don't work like that. I'm very, very, very serious about others people money.
Yes.
So I understand that recording is expensive, and I want to do it on time. I have to know what is what I'm going to record, and I try to finish on time all the time.
Great. Now you have to move into the other part of the career, which is, of course, to take that music out in front of people, which is a completely separate thing in many ways, correct? You know? Do you like touring?
I really like touring. I think it's a very interesting part of the process, and I like to communicate. I love to see that there is anybody feeling or understanding my songs. So is it the time when I check what happens with my music in other people's hands and voices.
Do people sing along in your shows?
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I noticed that in the show in Mexico that people were singing. That must be an incredible power to have that. You play big venues.
Yeah, in some places, in Mexico, in Spain, in Argentina, I play big venues. But when I do the States, they're not as big.
Wow, in Los Angeles, you play the Palladium. That's pretty sizable.
Yeah, we're doing the Greek theater.
The
Greek theater. Yeah.
Though that's by your definition, maybe that's not large.
That's amazing. That's amazing here.
Yeah.
But when I go, I don't know, for example, to Detroit,
okay,
then I do a small club.
Oh, interesting.
I really like that. In some places, I go to very small crowds, and in some other, I play for, I don't know, 20,000 people. So that's you have to be ready to play both venues.
You seem very comfortable. I've watched you on television shows. I've watched you in interviews. I mean, you seem to have a comfort level no matter where you perform. So, the thing in Mexico, you really commanded it. It's like, it seems like
I was
very
really
centered.
nervous in that concert.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
very, very much.
Interesting. You certainly didn't show it.
Yeah, well, I did. I tried not to show it.
Well, you're also a Leo, so you can occupy the center of the universe, right? Astrologically.
Well, they say that, but I don't know. So I have both things at the same time. So I love to be in the center of the stage, singing for the people, but I also am a very discreet person, and I love quietness, and I love silence, and I love being at home, just watching TV or reading or whatever.
Yeah. What do you read?
Well, I like to read poetry and essays and biographies, whatever. I like reading.
What kind of poetry do you read?
Well, this last year I discovered this Langston Hughes.
Langston Hughes, yes.
That I didn't know him, and Wisława Szymborska, that is a poet from Poland.
Uh-huh.
Those are my latest discoveries.
That's very interesting. Langston Hughes that's a very interesting point of reference. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Sexton.
And Sexton, yes.
Yeah.
The poet. Yeah. Wow. You got me going to the library now. That's great. The literary thing is a very interesting dynamic. I know you're a citizen of the world, but obviously, you're born in Spain right now. Spain is undergoing some turmoil.
Yeah.
It's a difficult time there for people. How do you relate to music and politics? I mean, do you think that music has a political voice or a social voice?
Absolutely. I think arts in general, you can try to show the world that at the times that you are living, you can reflect the moment. And in this album, there are like half of the album is very, I don't want to say politic, but maybe social interest in the lyrics.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I observed that, and I think that's a very interesting point of reference. We think, poetry has done that historically too. Sometimes been the voice of people. Someone like Federico Garcia Lorca, or of his time, or different people within certain historical dynamics. So, I mean, obviously, art reflects the period of time in which it's created. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I think that you can do. There is no need of that. You can talk about, I don't know, whatever, love or whatever, everything, and do a great song about it. But now I'm very interested in saying something else and trying to reflect the world.
Yes. A part of being you're a private person, as you've indicated to us, in addition to being a public performer, a part of our world today is social media. And I know that that's a part of your consciousness as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, social media, they are not the devil, but there are people using it as, how can I say this? Our expression can be censored, I don't know, in social media a little bit if you listen to the trolls and to the people trying to. I don't know how to explain this. I'm sorry, my English is not that good for explaining. But sometimes you write something in your social media and you have lots of people against what you have said.
Sure.
And that can provoke that you don't say anything because you don't want to have people against your thoughts. So the liberty of expression, that's what I think it's in danger here.
Interesting. What do people say to you? What do people communicate to you about how your music has affected them?
Well, people in general with me is so nice, and they tell me stories about how they feel with that song and they feel. Well, I don't know how they feel, but I know how I feel when I listen to them, and it's really it's important for me to receive that information because I feel less alone.
Wow. As I watch you in these incredible concert situations with people singing along with you, I mean, it seems to be so much love coming back.
Yeah.
And because you have such a multi-generational career, it's not just one generation of people that become listeners of you. You have obviously families and generations. That seems like a really interesting dynamic too.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see that your music is reaching new audiences, and there's kids going there, and also parents with their kids, and even grandparents. So it's just fantastic to have that big range of ages.
Big range of ages and a big range of countries where you play, everywhere from, all over the world.
Well, not all over the world, but Latin America,
Yes.
Spain, the US, and some countries in Europe. But that's amazing.
That's amazing.
But I always wanted to be big in Japan.
Yeah. Have you played Japan?
Yeah, a couple of times.
How was it?
It was amazing. It was great. Japan is a weird country, very weird. But I love Japanese culture, and so I would love to go there more often.
You seem like you would be very tuned into it, but the only thing is you can't go to the public baths there with those tattoos,
Oh yeah, I know.
But they have a fake skin you can get, and you can put that over. Plus, you're a rock star. They'd let you do anything.
I think they let me do it, yeah.
The Storyophonic questions for you, if you would be so kind for us. Number one would be, if you weren't doing music, what else would you be? What would you be doing instead of music?
Well, I just can't think about artistic things. I love painting. I love writing. So it would be something artistic. And I love cooking also.
Cooking?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Are you a vegan? I see the button.
Yeah, I'm vegan.
Great.
I'm vegan and I love cooking. It's another thing that I would love to do.
Great. And you've collaborated with a number of people. La Santa Cecilia, they're local heroes to us here in Los Angeles. Is there a dream collaboration? Is there somebody that you would like to collaborate with that you have not yet collaborated with?
Yeah, I always think about big Latin stars like Rubén Blades or Caetano Veloso, people like that.
Oh, Caetano Veloso, yeah. Great. And you're obviously a person who's always moving forward. So I would never ask you what you were proudest of in your career, because I think probably what you'll be proudest of is in the future. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I really think that what really is going to be interesting is the next album.
Ooh. And you have you written it?
I'm on it. I'm writing songs, and I'm thinking design of the production, I'm starting to think about a new album. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
And that's what moves me, and that's what I think is going to be really interesting. The past is done, and I don't feel it very interesting because I've been there, done that.
Great. Enrique Bunbury, you've certainly exceeded expectations with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. This episode of Storyophonic was produced and edited by Lindsay Tomasic.
Our theme music is used by permission from Ear Parade, Los Angeles. Our interstitial music is used by permission from Frameworks Music, Los Angeles. We hope you enjoyed today's episode featuring Enrique Bunbury. To find out more about Enrique, you can go to his website, enriquebunbury.com, ENRIQUEBUNBURY.com. Thanks so much for listening, and please come back again for another edition of Storyophonic.